From the greatest movie ever made comes one of the most fascinating, complex characters in fiction, Charles Foster Kane. But how should the audience react to this man of principles and desires? This is The Audience versus Charles Foster Kane. Charles Foster Kane is one of the greatest Americans who ever lived, and his legacy is one to strive for, through business, politics, and the arts. There's no other man like him. But how did his legacy begin? Mr. Kane was taken away from his family and forced to grow up away from his mother, eliminating his childhood. Was it really worth it for business? But what kind of childhood did he really have? He lived in poor conditions with a potentially abusive father. When he left, he began his journey for the American dream, and to become a great newspaper tycoon, and one of the richest men in America. But what kid wants that? Listen, it's always easy to get a head start in life. But he didn't become a great husband, putting his work before his family. He seemed to love profit more than his wife. It would even get worse to the point where he would cheat on his wife. No man should ever be limited by his family. He's free to do whatever he wants, such as going into politics. You needed a man to oppose political villains like Jim Geddes. He was a man of the people, and despite being defeated, he was still a great man. But what would he do to obtain greatness? In his second marriage, he would push his wife into an opera career that almost killed her, even destroying his friendship with Mr. Leland over a simple critical review. This is almost the behavior of an egomaniac. What about that? To become the best, you must push hard and even sacrifice. Mr. Kane meant no harm to Susan. He cared for her greatly. And what do you know about opera? Maybe Susan was a great opera singer and Mr. Leland was a bad critic. We know he was an alcoholic after all. Cared for her. He kept her cooped up in that mansion like she was a part of his valuable collection, even striking her. He never truly loved her, he just wanted her to love him, like everyone else. He became a hermit, isolating himself from the world. The only people who stayed with him were paid to. He truly died alone. Mr. Kane did so much for the world, he felt he was beyond it. When someone has lived through what he did, it's hard to judge him, right or wrong. His final years on earth was something we could only dream of living. A man's life can never be weighed on some kind of moral scale, and no newsreel can really truly cover it. Maybe walking a mile in his shoes, then that's when we can put ourselves on trial.